There's a brand new report that came out from a company called Newzoo that shows that female gamers make up 46% of the total gaming market, putting their total number at over 1 billion gamers. Upon first glance, this number seemed really, really high to me. Mainly because my experience meeting people online and like talking to people over voice comms and things, just in any game that I'm playing, everybody is like almost generally male. And maybe that's just because it's the games that I'm playing or something, but that's been my experience. So just like looking further into this data, what Newzoo has done in the reporting is it's lumping together anyone who games even just a little tiny bit as a, quote unquote gamer. So, someone who PC games every single night for hours on end and on the weekends spends tons of money on hardware, is lumped into the same category as somebody who just plays, Candy Crush for 5 minutes a day to pass the time. And what's interesting is that in this data, 36% of all of the women fell into this time waster category, which is how they had classed it, as well as 19% of the men, which are pretty big numbers for the data as like gamers. That's a lot of people that are just playing, mobile games here and there. But like putting the gender differences aside, that's not even what I want to talk about. It's just what made me look at the article more. Me personally, I feel that the industry needs to find a way to label and categorize gamers more accurately by lumping them into buckets or separating them out some way. Like, I feel that a PC gamer is much different than a passive mobile gamer. Like, the experience of playing Dark Souls on PC is a little bit different than playing Candy Crush, or playing even if you're playing like something like Clash Royale 5-10 minutes a day. It's just not the same experience, and it's not the same type of person or the same type of person that you'd be marketing to. They're two different customers, very different customers. I don't know, how do you guys feel about like this lumping together of gamers as a whole? Like, do you feel like it's okay to just lump everybody into one, or do you feel like these stats should be different and that it really doesn't even help to look at stuff like this because it's so just incorrect?
I think, from my perspective, I will say that I've seen a lot of these lately, the data on gamers. I think that there's a lot of money to be made, and I think a lot of these statistics and these reports that people throw together is mainly just they want to make it's part of what we're talking about a lot. They want to make it social, so people who are thinking like, oh, who don't play video games that see that article, they'll be like, oh shit, there's that many people who play the game. Oh shit, there's people who only play 20 minutes a day and they're considered a gamer. Like, why don't I try that out? So I think like a lot of these articles are like trying to get like social acceptance, like saying, look at these variety of different gamers, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things with these this research that's done is the main motivation behind it is like acceptance on a social and cultural scale. I will say that, getting to what you're talking about, Matt, do we need to distinguish? Is it appropriate to distinguish? I think that it is not super important to distinguish, but it's necessary because it's it's a diverse group of people, and in every other situation, we want to put emphasis on people's individual, how they do things, correct? If it's
Mm-hmm.
race or whatever, like we want to respect them for that, but like when it comes to this, we just want to lump everybody together and say, oh, they're a gamer. Well, I mean, that's kind of silly, because it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, and that's what I think you're trying to get to here is like,
Well, yeah, I really just wanted to have a conversation about it. Well, I think first of all, it seemed a little bit dishonest to me, and it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, because I feel like I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they're just like trying to show that, like, bump up the numbers of gamers and show other people that all these people are gaming, so why not try it out? I think that you were like really spot on, but I think maybe I'm just biased, like, because I do play games a lot, that maybe I'm like coming at this from a negative way and saying like, oh well, like, you're not like a real gamer, if you don't do like this and this. And I don't want to come across that way, but I'm sure that there's some kind of bias that I'm
Yeah.
showing even just bringing this up, but I have like a little analogy here where like, for two gym goers, a guy that lifts heavy weights every day in the gym, for years on end, and then somebody that goes and walks on the treadmill for 10 minutes a day, like you wouldn't lump them into the same category. They aren't like both like fitness enthusiasts or like bodybuilders. Do you know what I mean? Like they're different. It's a different category. I'm sure you could make comparisons like that all day to different hobbies. And
really good one, man. That right. It's there. You have to think of who these, like you said, it's these studies are done in order to make it acceptable and try to get more people into an industry where they're going to spend their money. But I think for people who are already residing there, it's important to not be gatekeepers and say you're not allowed to be called a gamer, but to say like, hey, like, I put a lot of time and money and et cetera into this, and like you're just sitting there on your phone that you already have, like, that's why people up about this. And then there's now that we're all on Twitter, the gatekeeper thing.
Right.
It's like people are not always trying to be gatekeepers. People are just touchy about it because they put fucking half of their life sometimes into video games. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Give them a little bit of a break. And at the same time, like if someone is giving someone grief for not being a gamer, like they're in the bad too. It works both ways. Like this thing, it's more nuanced than people want to accept.
Yeah, it's that, I don't know. Like you said, they're kind of like playing both sides of that scenario. Just whenever it's fitting for them. Like certain things you want to like praise people's individuality, and then others, it's like, no, you're all part of the same group. Like you just can't. You never find like the middle ground here, because obviously if it were up to me, like this time waster category, I think if you asked them too, I don't think that they would consider themselves gamers. I think that's not something that people that are probably in that category to begin with want to associate with anyways, at least in the US. That was another thing that kind of, obviously, I think these are probably international, like for the world,
for sure,
like demographic.
Oh yeah.
What was that, over 1 billion? So what? Yeah, that's a ridiculous number of people, of women gamers.
Yeah, over 1 billion female. Yeah,
right. Not a chance. But you were saying that, like, not in our experience, like there's not X% of girls playing games, like they're non-existent. But maybe that isn't always the truth in other places. Maybe it's more accepted in Europe and Asia and things like that. Those are huge markets. And here, in the US, we do kind of get that stigma of, that when people label you a gamer, like, especially over like the last 10 years, like they think of this generally negative connotation, like you're this kind of shut in, and you don't interact with anybody, you don't do anything, you're just wasting your life, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, you're like Quasimodo down in the basement.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
just semi-true, but we're having fun, right?
Yes, exactly. It is kind of true in a way, but it's the image is amplified by like 1 million by people who are on the other end of it, But what I wanted to say was, now I can't remember, for Christ's sakes.
Oh no.
It's coming back. I've been good lately, guys.
Baby brain strikes again.
It was bound to happen. Well, I mean, I don't really have like a point that I'm trying to drive home with this, or really anything. I really just wanted to talk about it because it just irked me a little bit that they want to like lump in this time waster category as,
well, okay, now I remember,
as this gamer thing. And is it a big deal? No, I mean, it's not. But me personally, like I just feel like if you're gonna like market to like a gamer, or like try to write about something like what you're talking about, like this just seems like you're super off base to me.
It's not honest. It's not made by someone who's actually whoever came up with the categories and everything. They're not being honest about what a gamer really is. I mean, there's now I remember what I was gonna say. I did a little bit of research on this when you sent me the article,
okay,
Matt, and they have categories where people are just watching video games.
Oh yeah, the popcorn enthusiast or something, like, they called them. Yeah,
I do like that a lot. I might be one of those.
We got one.
Yeah,
We
dude.
have one.
I mean,
among
you're
us,
not.
bro.
It's logical that you're not actively playing. You know, what would they call someone who watches NBA? Would they say, "Oh no, he's the dude watching. He's a basketball player."
Well, that's a really good point, actually.
I've seen him slam a couple down. You know, he's got a good three-pointer. You know.
Yeah, like when I watch Gordon Ramsay on TV, it doesn't make me a fucking chef.
Yeah, like Matt. Next time I go up and I visit at home, Matt's got like a chef hat. He's like, "Hey man, you know, I was Ramsay.
I'm cooking my scrambled eggs with creme fraiche.